Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and today I'm going to be giving you 10 comic books that you can read if you have no interest in superheroes at all. If you think comic books are only about guys in spandex punching each other through buildings, list will completely shatter that misconception. None of these require any prior knowledge of superhero lore. Now, this is a quick rundown of each title of these 10 and why a non-comic book reader will love it. So first we have, and this is in no particular order, we have Giant Days. Giant Days is by John Allison, Max Stein, and Whitney Kogar. It's a witty slice of life comedy following three young women, Susan, Esther, and Daisy, as they navigate their first year at a British university. Think bad breakups, bizarre student jobs, and deep friendships. It feels like watching a cozy sitcom like New Girl or Dairy Girls. There are no world ending stakes, just sharp dialogue and relatable human drama that captures the messy transition into adulthood. Then you have Criminal. Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. It's a modern noir crime series that, rather than following a single hero, tells a self-contained story, each volume focusing on different generations of lawbreakers, grifters, pickpockets, and corrupt cops in the same gritty city, showing how their tragic past catch up to them. It'll appeal to fans of Breaking Bad, True Detective, or classic Elmore Leonard crime novels. It avoids comic tropes entirely, opting for psychological depth and brutal realistic tension. Then there's Mouse Guard. Mouse Guard is by David Peterson. Now, don't let the cute characters fool you. This is a serious, gritty medieval drama. In a world where mice live in a hidden, scattered settlements, the Mouse Guard is an elite brotherhood of soldiers sworn to protect civilian mice from harsh weather and deadly predators like foxes, owls, and crabs. It offers the detailed lore of like a Lord of the Rings mixed with high-stakes survival like of the TV series The Living Dead. The artwork looks like it belongs in a beautifully painted classic storybook. Then you have something you've probably heard of at least before because of the movies, and that's Hellboy by Mike Mignola. Summoned to Earth as a baby by Nazis but raised by a kindly American professor, Hellboy grows up to be a cynical, cigar-chomping investigator for the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. He travels the globe solving occult mysteries and fighting folklore monsters. Unlike the action-heavy movie adaptations, this comic is deeply atmospheric, quiet, and poetic. It relies heavily on genuine world folklore, ghost stories, and Lovecraftian horror, drawn in a stark, shadow-heavy art style that feels like Gothic art. Then you have Nice House on the Lake by James Tinian IV and Alvarado Martinez Bueno. A wealthy, eccentric man named Walter invites a group of his closest friends in their 30s to a gorgeous, isolated lake house for a vacation. Once they arrive, they look at their phones and realize the entire rest of the world has suddenly ended in an apocalyptic event, and Walter is somehow responsible. It's a claustrophobic psychological horror mystery. It captures the kind of what is happening mystery of shows like Lost and Severance. Then you have Lone Wolf and Cub by Kazuo Koike and Goseki Kojima. Ogami Ito, the shogun's executioner in feudal Japan, is disgraced by a conspiracy that leaves his wife murdered. He chooses the path of the assassin, traveling the countryside seeking revenge while pushing his toddler son, Dagoro, ahead of him in a heavily armed baby carriage. This historic manga is widely manga as a work of art. It is an intense, historically accurate epic filled with samurai philosophy, political intrigue, and cinematic action that directly inspired The Mandalorian and other modern Western cinema. Then there's Fables by Bill Willingham. When a mysterious, all-powerful enemy conquers the lands of myth and folklore, famous fairy tale characters are forced to flee to our world. They set up a secret, magical underground community in modern-day New York City called Fabletown, where Bigby, the big bad wolf, acts as the hard-boiled sheriff. It completely reimagines our expectations of classic childhood stories. Snow White is a fierce political leader, Prince Charming is a sleazy con artist, and Goldilocks is a radical guerrilla fighter. It combines urban fantasy, political thriller, and murder mystery into a wildly creative world. Then there's Lunar New Year Love Story by Jin Wen Lang and Lei Yun Pham. Valentina is a young woman who has completely given up on love, firmly believing her family is plagued by a multi-generational curse of heartbreak. But everything changes over the course of successive Lunar New Year celebrations in San Francisco, where she meets two very different young men, a lion dancer and a medical student, and begins to question her own cynicism. This graphic novel really embodies the vibe of heart-swelling romantic comedies like Crazy Rich Asians or Before Sunrise. It uses the vibrant, festive backdrop of line dancing and cultural traditions to tell a deeply grounded, emotional story about grief, family heritage, and the courage it takes to be vulnerable. 100 Bullets by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Riso. A mysterious, enigmatic man named Agent Graves approaches ordinary people whose lives have been utterly ruined by someone else. He hands them a briefcase containing a handgun, 100 rounds of ammunition, and irrefutable proof of the person who wronged them. The bullets are completely untraceable. If they use them, the police will completely ignore the crime. It's a psychological crime thriller that asks a massive moral question. If you could get away with absolute revenge, would you take it? What starts as a series of standalone Twilight Zone-style moral dilemmas slowly unspools into a massive, sprawling conspiracy web involving secret global organizations. And last, we have Thirsty Mermaids by Kat Ley. Three mermaids, Pearl, Tooth, and Ebb, drink a bit too much shipwreck wine one night and decide they want to try land booze. Using a clumsy magic spell, they transform their tails into human legs and sneak into a seaside human town to hit the bars. The problem? Once they sober up the next morning, they realize none of them actually know how to reverse the spell. Stranded on land, they have to find a way to pay rent, get jobs, and survive human society. Three Mermaids is a funny, chaotic, and heartwarming subversion of classic fairy tales. Instead of a delicate little mermaid looking for a handsome prince, these are loud, colorful, fish out of water, dynamic characters looking for a good pub and a place to belong. It's a charming story about found family and modern survival. So, there you go. Even if you have no interest in superheroes, these are 10 comic books that show you the width and the breadth of the comic medium and how many different stories and tales you can tell using pictures and word balloons. So, this is Euphoria. I hope you try a couple of these, and whatever you do, keep reading.